Welcome to Football Conspiracies.
I'm Jared Cole.
And I'm Jared Rabinovich.
This week's episode, Super Bowl 59.
Alrighty, so just a little housekeeping off the top. We are going to be changing our release schedules to Thursday mornings instead of Wednesday mornings. So apologies for not mentioning it last week when we made the change officially, but for any of you who are looking forward to our Wednesday morning releases, we greatly apologize and hope that your Thursday morning transit is brightened up a bit by this news.
If this is any consolation, because you don't have Thursday football anymore, we're providing you that Thursday football.
That was definitely the intention of our change, and that's actually the official story now. That'll go in the press release.
Yeah.
Perfect. So you had something you wanted to update us on?
Yeah, well, I mean, Super Bowl first impressions. I gotta bring up what I said last week at Jay Cutta when he mentioned that the team traveling west to the Super Bowl will always beat the team traveling east, or at least has in the past 8 times this has happened. And guess what? It's now 9 straight.
Yes, it is.
Philly won, and they traveled west, and Kansas City traveled east, and they lost.
One of the most banal statistics I've ever heard in my life, but I can't argue with its veracity.
Yeah, I wonder what the thing is about it, though. You know what I mean? I wonder why this is a trend.
I don't think there's anything behind this other than sheer coincidence.
I don't know.
It's not like the time change is going to make a big difference, or it's not like altitude is changing much. I just think it's truly a silly coincidence. 8 in a row or 9 in a row now is not the craziest statistical anomaly ever.
Every time it's happened this century. So in a 2000 and blank.
Which, once again, I mean, it's interesting, but it's pretty meaningless as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I don't know. Next time it's east-west, I might put a little bit more money on the east. I mean, the team traveling west.
I mean, if you're trying to argue that this is useful information for bettors, apparently the fact that it was Saquon Barkley's birthday yesterday during the Super Bowl, it was good information for bettors. So yeah, I guess this could be a tidbit.
It was also Cooper DeJean's birthday, and he scored a pick 6. So
I guess you're right. That's
people ball on their birthdays.
I don't know how I feel about that. I would need some statistics to know before I felt confident backing that up. But you know what? Bettors are going to bet. So
yeah,
feel free. So for today's main portion, we are actually going to be coming at you guys with a little bit of a shorter episode. This is, if you didn't catch earlier, being recorded on Monday night, the day after the Super Bowl. The conspiracy theorists' takes regarding the Super Bowl have not yet been, fully solidified. This will likely take another few days. So in the meantime, we thought it would be a nice idea to chat about some of our first impressions the day following the big game. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, J. Cole, I gotta know, what have you been thinking following the game? Any potentially juicy takes you found on Twitter, or anything else that's come across your mind?
Yeah, I mean, it was a terrible Super Bowl. The score and the stats do not tell the story, because that was 3 quarters of garbage and then 1 quarter of garbage time. So,
yeah, pretty much. It was a boring-ass Super Bowl. It really was. It was so lackluster from beginning to end, and even with those, 2 admittedly crazy touchdown catches from Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
It was too far gone for it to mean anything.
Yeah, and I felt like I kept on waiting for Saquon to make that explosive play.
Yeah.
I kept on saying he needs that one big play, and then he'll finally break out. But I guess they didn't really need him to. They put over 40 points on the Chiefs.
Yeah, and it's not that Saquon played poorly. He just wasn't his usual
self.
Explosive self.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, the defense stepped up big time.
Yeah, the defense stepped up. Jalen had a pretty good game.
Yeah, I mean
MVP.
Definitely worthy. There was no one who deserved it more, I should say.
Yeah, I think
it kind of defaults on the quarterback of the team that wins, because they, won the game. They put in the work, but I mean,
Yeah, like I wouldn't say there was anyone who played like particularly amazing yesterday. Just the entire Eagles team played a very solid game of football, and it showed.
Yeah, and Patrick Mahomes just couldn't get anything done.
Yeah, I mean, if only that translated last a couple weeks ago in the last round, I would have found that more gratifying personally.
And I actually I haven't seen really much about the Super Bowl. I've seen a lot about the halftime show theories, but about like the Super Bowl, I haven't seen any, but I have two in my brain.
Which are?
I don't know. It was a little fishy, all those fucking flags on the kicks. Like, I felt like the refs fucking iced Jake Elliott like four times.
Like, it was crazy.
Like, it was ridiculous. Like, I don't know.
It was a little fishy. I'll give you that.
I would need to rewatch some game tape to
really
see,
understand.
like, what's
Gotta do some
going on
Monday
here.
night quarterbacking.
Exactly. And then the second thing is, I think we saw how, like, and not anti-Chiefs the ref were, but like much more balanced in the sense of like maybe they were favoring the Eagles a little bit more, like their plays were going a little bit more the Eagles' way, like the refereeing. But I feel like in the grand scheme of things, it was because the NFL knew that the Kansas City Chiefs were going to be shit, and they knew that they needed help to get to the Super Bowl because they are such like a money-making market and a big storyline that they can, you know, produce the most money out of it. And then they were kind of just like, once it's the Super Bowl and we have everyone watching, we're just going to have them play football, you know?
I mean, if you were a conspiracy theorist, I feel like that would be a logical place to take this, knowing that the Chiefs ended up losing the game. I do have some more commentary on this to speak about later, but for now, let's get into the bulk of the episode. So, to quickly explain why this is going to be a bit of a shorter episode, it's pretty simple, really. It's when I was doing research for this episode, it wasn't, or it shouldn't be too surprising that I was not able to find too much content to speak about as of yet. I would be willing to bet that if the Chiefs had ended up winning the Super Bowl, this episode pretty much would have written itself. But because that didn't happen, and the Eagles won, and the refs seemed more deferential to Philly than they did Kansas, just like J. Cole mentioned, at least upon first impression, I would need to do a bit more digging myself as well. Because of all this, the conspiracists seem to be at a loss about what to be speaking about today, right? Like, it was all guns were locked and loaded to be talking about the inevitable Chiefs victory that I guess wasn't so inevitable.
That never came.
Exactly. So now they gotta be doing some pretty serious rewriting before we get to what the true conspiracies coming out of this Super Bowl will be for time immemorial. As we have spoken about on the previous few episodes, this has been the conspiracy Super Bowl. Yes, conspiracies have been prevalent in previous Super Bowls, and the topic has been on the rise for quite a long time, but it has never been even close to this prominent before. The Wall Street Journal, NBC, Bloomberg, I've seen all of these mainstream media publications speaking about the conspiracy angle of the Super Bowl. This alone is proof to me that the conspiracist's mindset has infected regular society in a fundamental way.
See, it's funny you say that because during the Super Bowl, like, media day, basically, where all the players, they answer any and all questions from all different types of reporters, Travis Kelce was like, hey, like, reporters, like, we understand that the people online are going to be conspiracy theorists, but why are you guys doing it? Like, why are you egging them on? Views, obviously, is the answer.
Of course.
But, like, he does make a good point that, like, maybe the mainstream media shouldn't be like, oh, the NFL is rigged.
I think that's a fair point, but I think there's a equally fair counterpoint of people saying that their job is really to cater to their audience, and their
the
audience wants conspiracies.
To know if, well, and then this ties back to your point, which is why I thought it should be mentioned, which was what you just said.
No, I know, I agree.
Yeah, like,
I'm glad you broached the subject. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like,
and I completely sympathize with the players who love this sport and know in their bones it isn't rigged.
Yeah, I mean,
and they have to deal with this week after week, especially like, you know, in the depth of all this pressure of potentially winning a third Super Bowl or whatever it is. Like, I get it. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's also like outside like distractions.
For sure. But also, like, if what the people are talking about isn't the sport and it's the theories, then it's the theories that are going to be talked about by the professionals. Yeah. And I agree that maybe there's this argument that they should be rising above the fray, but also, like, the fray is their audience, so I can't really disparage them one way or the other.
Yeah, no, I get it, but he's also right.
Exactly. I don't support necessarily them promoting it and getting more people into this rabbit hole. As a matter of fact, I'm quite against that. But people simply reporting on the fact that there is a lot of conspiracy, I think that's solid reporting that needs to be done, or we'd be missing a very large part of what the story surrounding the Super Bowl really was.
Yeah.
And I know I've expressed this sentiment before, but honestly, I wish the topic of this podcast was a super esoteric niche. That's what our original primary directive was all about. But as we can see, less than a year into the making of this podcast, the topic at hand has officially become mainstream. I know, we've done it. We're we got sold out ourselves. We didn't even make the choice.
No, we didn't.
We really wanted to be like making like pretty much a zine for you guys here, and we're making like just the regular update. Yeah, exactly. Just like milquetoast slop like the rest of them.
A podcast that doesn't hold up nearly as well to the standards of time.
Yeah, exactly. So all this being said, it seems with all the hype around conspiracies and the Super Bowl, a lot of people began taking for granted that the Chiefs would end up winning. After all, the conspiracies don't make much sense if they didn't end up winning, which obviously we now know is the case. It seems to me that many of the theories about the game being rigged before the Chiefs ended up losing need to be rewritten now. And that, I think, is probably the best explanation as to why there's simply not too much content to be speaking about in today's episode.
I'd just like to mention that I rewrote history at the beginning of this episode, so we need some better conspiracy theorists regarding the NFL out there.
I know, like, it took you 5 seconds.
Like, honestly.
You dove right into the mind of these guys. But don't, like, I'd be willing to bet there are hundreds of people out there right now who have prepared memes and theories all hinging on the fact that the Chiefs were going to have a victory. And now that happened, all of those memes are in the trash bin. They will all be lost media, and I mourn for them. But you know those people are coming up with the exact sort of slop that you came up with at the beginning of this episode. And that's what the new memes are going to be once I have them prepared and brushed up in Photoshop. Yes. Exactly.
Well, I think that's just sloppy that they didn't plan for a Chiefs loss, you know?
I agree, but I understand the temptation. The conspiracies are so much more juicy if they did. Or if they didn't lose, you know? Like, it would have been the conspiracist's wet dream, honestly. Like, so because of this dynamic, there are very little fun conspiracies coming out of the Super Bowl the following day, today.
Yeah.
I know that we're mere hours away from someone spitting out a conspiracy about how the script needed to be changed last minute because the theorists were on to the league, and that's why the Eagles won. But for now, we will have to work with what we got. Hopefully by next week, I will be able to bring y'all a more thorough breakdown of why the conspiracists believe they were right all along, even though many of their predictions obviously did not come true.
Yeah, they fell a little short.
A little, to say the least.
Very short.
Yes. So, first things first, we have to bring up some of the theories we've been speaking about in the past couple of weeks and see how they panned out.
Yeah, valid.
The first one I want to bring up, though personally I don't have too much to say about this topic, is the theory that we should have known the Eagles would win because Taylor Swift did not win a Grammy.
That is true.
Yeah, like, I don't know if our listeners remember this one too much, but pretty much people were saying because Taylor Swift did not win a Grammy, that must mean that the Chiefs are also going to lose at the Super Bowl. What are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, technically, but no.
Exactly. Like, you're speaking my mind here. Well, I think it's clear that this one is a bunch of hokum. You just know there are going to be people out there on Twitter claiming that they are right all along. I've not seen this as of yet, but I will be sure to report it when I do come across it, because I can just guarantee there are some people out there who are going, see, I knew the Chiefs were going to lose all along because Taylor didn't win her Grammy, and they are going to fully believe it. Oh my. That's all I wanted to say about this one, but I just need to bring it up to rant a little bit, get that off my chest.
Yeah, valid.
The next thing I wanted to chat about, though, is a follow-up on another one of our conversations. This one being the Matthew McConaughey Uber Eats commercial. For those unfamiliar, last week or a couple weeks ago, Uber Eats came out with a marketing campaign that starred Matthew McConaughey, and it was a sort of fake version of one of those TikTok conspiracy videos where he was talking about how because this is Super Bowl LIX, this is Super Bowl LIX, and it's really all about how they're trying to sell you food. And this is really Little Caesars just trying to get you to want to buy their food. It was obviously just a jokey commercial for Little Caesars and Uber Eats, but it was done in such a way that really sparked my interest because he was clearly trying to appeal to the NFL conspiracists out there. So now that the Super Bowl has actually happened, we have gotten a chance to see the full version of this commercial that this original teaser was teasing. J. Cole, have you had a chance to check out the full version of the commercial yet?
No, I have not, unfortunately.
Okay, so that is just fine. We will now play it for you and for the rest of our audience to hear.
Look, from the very beginning, football's been a conspiracy to make us hungry. Now let me tell you where it all started.
And we'll call this a pigskin. Make people crave bacon.
And everybody loves bacon.
I love bacon.
Bacon. Ever ask yourself how Buffalo got a team?
These wings deserve a team. Yeah. I figured out a good team name for Buffalo, Bill. Buffalo. Buffalo.
They do anything to sell food.
Do I have to be called refrigerator?
Yes. Even Peyton was in on it.
Omaha!
Steak.
Omaha!
And they're still at it. This year, we got a halftime show presented by an apple. In a stadium named after a Stalin.
Matthew,
Yeah. Hey,
sorry. You want me to make a movie about a football conspiracy?
come on, Greta. Bacon's in.
Everybody loves bacon.
No one believes that football was invented to sell
Food! When football makes you hungry, order Uber Eats.
It's a bold statement to say that no one believes that, because I know at least one person who believes that.
And who's that?
Me.
Okay.
I mean, it's Super Bowl.
Oh my god, don't get me fucking started.
I don't know.
Okay, so, well, I mean, putting aside J. Cole's bullshit, so in this commercial, Matthew McConaughey lays out a theory as to why football was invented just to sell food. It has, for those who didn't get to see the visual, it has a ton of celebrity cameos and ends with Matthew McConaughey making a pitch to Greta Gerwig about a movie covering up a football conspiracy. Like, this is so up our alley. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's great.
Like, honestly, I think the maybe the marketing campaign down at Uber Eats found our podcast.
Yeah.
Give us a shout. Give us a shout. Well, I think it is quite evident that this entire marketing campaign is a lighthearted joke. The very fact of its existence is important to me, and I think important to the mission of this podcast. I know I spoke about this last week, but I think the point bears repeating. When the Uber Eats marketing team began thinking up their ad blitz for the Super Bowl, they settled on making a fake football conspiracy. They believed this would be successful because they are playing off already popular sentiments. The fact that football conspiracies have gotten so popularized that a company like Uber is willing to spend millions and millions of dollars on a marketing campaign based on the concept speaks volumes about the zeitgeist in the NFL world right now. Not only this, Uber chose to air this at the Super Bowl, a game which has a much larger audience than just football fans. This implies that Uber believed this would resonate with NFL and non-NFL fans alike. If this does not speak to the prevalence of conspiratorial thinking in the NFL world, and the rest of the world, frankly, then I don't know what does.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, like, kind of into conspiracies and you see that commercial, you're like, hey, maybe I'll order Eats and watch some football, you know?
And it's not even about that. What I think is so scary is, like, this melding of conspiracy and capitalism. And it brings this, nightmare future to my eyes, where we're going to be in a world where, because conspiracies are becoming increasingly popular, the free market, quote unquote, of capitalism is going to take a grasp on that and try to exploit it. And they are going to start advertising their products through conspiracies, or start implanting conspiracies in the society as a whole to make their products more favorable to the world. And they're going to be playing these like crazy psyops on the population, all in the pursuit of adding to their bottom line. And that's what's truly scary to me about this. I really think, and I haven't really heard many people voice this concern yet, but I really think this might be the first sign we're seeing of the the conspiracy capitalism complex that we are about to be entering soon.
So you're saying this was the first domino?
Well, it was one of the first. Like, I think
this is like the first big one.
This, and I would say the NFL scripted commercials, I would say play into the same feeling, but this is less jokey than those. Like, that was playing off a direct conspiracy. This one's making up one of its own. So yeah, I'm coining that phrase right now. Maybe it'll catch on. The conspiracy capitalism industrial complex. There you go.
Wow, we have a professor on our hands.
Well, maybe I'll get my dissertation based on this one. All right. The last topic we need to touch on before we conclude this shorter than usual episode is, of course, the Super Bowl logo theory.
Red, green logo, baby.
Yep. As we now know, and we've discussed, the Super Bowl logo theory was correct. But honestly, it seems impossible for us to go 3 episodes without this coming up. We simply must report what's happening on the internet right now, so I'm sorry if this seems repetitive at all. So, the reason I bring this up today is J. Cole, did you see that an even newer Super Bowl 60 logo was released?
No.
Yeah.
Like not the blue on blue San Fran background sort
Exactly.
of vibe.
We talked about the blue on blue San Fran background. That one was obviously what we spoke about last week and what everybody is pointing to in the conspiracy world as the probable Bills Lions Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Is what I've definitely heard voiced quite a bit. And this is definitely the main logo that we're going to be seeing for the upcoming Super Bowl. But last night, immediately following the Super Bowl, the Sunday Night Football on NBC Twitter account released a new Super Bowl 60 logo. Obviously, we need to break down our predictions for this one. However, before you take a look at it, J. Cole, I just want to say that I think this one may be a little tougher to glean a prediction from. Maybe the listeners will understand that a bit more when I have them describe it to you. Or have you describe it to them.
You hear that? You guys listening are about to go back in time to describe to me what this logo looks like.
Oh my god. All right, so J. Cole, first impressions.
All right, so I actually did see this, and I thought it was a meme.
Do you want to describe it a little bit?
Yeah, I will. It's Super Bowl LX, except in the LX, it has some trees, the Golden Gate Bridge, the San Francisco skyline, but it has pink, it has red, it has green, it has blue, it has yellow. Like, there is literally every single color in this logo. So like when I saw this online, I thought it was a meme. I thought it was like a play on the Super Bowl logo theory. Like, oh, guess who's gonna make the Super Bowl now? And I was like,
that is so funny. Like, and maybe to some extent, like the graphic designer behind this, like anyone who's designing the Super Bowl logo right now, they have to know about all the lore behind it. Like it's unavoidable. So maybe this was a bit of like an internal meme for the people who released it. Like I said, I don't know if this is the main. Fuck yeah, agreed. Fuck yeah. If that was the case, fuck yeah.
Hear me out. The 2 colors that are on the actual Super Bowl are blue and that looks like a pink or a purple. And the blue is on the top. So it's going to be a blue versus purple team in the Super Bowl, and the blue's going to win. It's going to be...
So it's going to be like the Lions,
No, it's
Ravens?
going to be... No, Lions, Ravens. It could be the Vikings and the Bills.
Okay, yeah.
I mean...
No, there's some good options here, right?
That's looking like a Detroit blue, if I do say so myself.
I would agree. I think that looks like a Detroit blue.
I don't know. It's a little too pinky.
It could be a Tennessee Titans blue as well.
Yeah, hilarious. Tennessee Titans making the Super Bowl next year.
Well, I mean, according to this logo, it could be anyone.
It could literally be anyone.
And that's what I think is like, you tapped on exactly what I thought was so funny about this logo.
It is a meme.
Who knows? Exactly.
It is a meme on the meme, which...
For sure.
Meta as hell.
I want to make it very clear that I have no idea if this is the alternate logo, if this is the main logo, whatever it is. All I can tell you is that it was released by the Sunday Night Football on NBC account. That's all I can say. And frankly... this is the best conspiracy I've seen yet.
Yeah.
The conspiracy that we've just come up with, that this has been created to mess with conspiracy theorists, that would be a beautiful meta joke that I would have a hard time not appreciating.
Yeah, no, you win. Whoever made that logo, you win.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode.
You can find us on Twitter at FB Conspiracies, where we will post all the graphics and links we spoke about during this episode.
You can also reach us by email using fbconspiracies@gmail.com.
A special thanks to Blaze for the music.
If you enjoyed, consider leaving a review.
Join us next week for more football conspiracies.
Fuck me.
No,
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it. You have to stop distracting me. I'm doing this. The best evidence that can be seen for this curse.
Just read it. Just read the words. The best evidence for this can be seen using the three players.
Fine.
You
Fine.
wrote
Fuck
it,
you.
just use
Fine.
it.
Fuck you.
You wrote it,
Fine.
just use
Yeah.
it.
Fine.